Hello YouTube and welcome back to my garage. For all my subscribers that thought they were going to get another H1 video, we're not doing the H1 video today, not this time. We're doing something a little bit smaller. So I picked up this 2025 Ranger Raptor, and there's a million videos out there on these trucks and things that they can do and things they cannot do. And anyway, picked this up, had it transported here to the house, and it's got a whole 23.7 miles on it. So I think it's time to make some changes. So some of the changes that we're going to do today, get started on, we're going to put this ginormous Stage 2 Process West intercooler in. We've got the Process West charge and cold and hot side piping, and then we've got the air intake piping kit that's kind of mixed in here. This goes from the this is the one that comes from the air box. So we're going to be putting all that in. We're also going to be putting in these little protectors right here for your trailing arm position sensors. So one of the downsides to this truck is they have a position sensor down here on the frame. It's just this little plastic housing here with a cable on it, and these are notorious for getting knocked off with rocks because they're right in front of the tire. So what this thing does, I don't know if this is left or right, but these get positioned over the top, and then I think this is for the other side, but it comes over here and it bolts on real quick. It should take about 10 minutes to put these on. They protect that from debris and things that might damage that sensor and snap that cable off, because apparently they come and plug pretty easily. So we're going to do that. We're going to do the Redline tuning hood kit, the strut kit, because it's shameful that in this day and age you still have a prop rod to hold the hood up on that thing. So that's going to go away, and we'll put the gas struts in because I'm going to be doing a lot of work in the engine compartment, and I don't want that prop rod in the way. Another thing we're going to do is, this is from 4D Tech. This is the auto start stop eliminator, and these work great. I had one of these in my Explorer ST, and similar cable, and they work great. They do everything they say they're going to do. It takes like 2 minutes to put this thing in behind the glove box, and it will keep your memory of where your last setting was on your auto start stop, so you never have to push that button once you get in and start it up. Now, before I put this in, I have the ForeScan software on my laptop and the cable to connect, and I'm going to try to disable my auto start stop in ForeScan and before I put this cable in. The reason being is, once you plug this cable in, it uses battery power all the time, and I had this problem in my ST. If your truck sits for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, it's going to start draining your battery. You're going to start getting notifications on your connected app that your systems are shutting down, or it actually tells you to go drive around and charge your battery up. But if you don't drive your vehicle all the time, this will drain your battery to the point where everything in your truck starts shutting down, and you need to charge it back up. I had to keep my Explorer ST on a trickle charger all the time because of this cable. They work great, but just keep in mind, it will drain your battery if you're not driving the vehicle. So a lot of people, as far as the ForeScan app goes, the ForeScan software, a lot of people say, oh, you can't get a renewal license right now because of the conflict in Ukraine and the Russian sanctioned banks and all that. Well, I'm here to tell you, this is the first week of June 2025, and I paid for the $20 extended software license, and I got my activation code almost immediately. So it works just fine. You can send some Russian guy 20 bucks and you'll get your software license for ForeScan. So that's the other thing that's going in. And lastly, we're going to be putting in, not in this video, I think I'm going to save it later, we're going to be putting in this this kicker hideaway sub, because the really sad excuse for a subwoofer that's behind the seat on this thing has got to go. But I'm still waiting for my line out converter to come. There's a company out there on the East Coast that programs a kicker line out convertible, makes a cable so it's plug and play, If you just put this in and tie it into your system, it is going to sound like crap because of the bass roll-off that's built into the Ford sound system. And I had the 14 speaker B&O system in my Explorer, and that thing rocked. I mean, it sounded fantastic. This thing here, 10 speaker B&O system, they kind of dropped the ball on it. I think it kind of sounds like crap, so we're going to do some things to make that sound a little better. I know people aren't buying these trucks for the sound system, but still, if you're going to advertise a 10 speaker B&O system, it should sound fantastic, but unfortunately that one does not. So anyway, we're going to try to pull this truck in the garage and do this in this little confined space that I have right here, so I can use my air conditioning, because it is going to be 112 degrees today. So I am not going to be out here in the driveway working on this truck. So we're going to try to cram it in the garage. But first thing that's going to happen is we're going to lose these running boards. These things are horrible. Now, I did come with the option of the factory mud flaps, which is nice. They put those on. So I think I'm going to be protected from some rock chips, but I'm 6 foot tall, and getting in and out of this thing with the running boards, yeah, it's just not very ergodynamic. I mean, if you try to climb in, it's a shin buster, man. If you're not stepping up here, and they did put a handle up here on the pillar, which would have been really nice, but they got one on the other side, but they didn't put the pillar here, on the pillar here. So getting in and out of this thing, I could step in pretty easily, but getting back out, when I go to get out, I'm not using a step because there's no handle right here to really hang on to, and I don't really use a steering wheel. So when you get out, you really have to stretch and reach over the bolster on the seat right here, and it puts so much pressure and downward force on this bolster that it's going to tear it up before too long. So we're going to lose those running boards. This truck isn't really that tall. I'm not a big fan of running boards, and so that's going to come off. Those are going to come off first, and then we're going to roll it into the garage and see if we can get started on some of that, because the whole front end has to come apart. But I put the similar Whipple intercooler in my Explorer, and the difference is immediate. It is night and day. I mean, colder air, this thing should drop the air temperature about 80 degrees, and colder air translates into instant horsepower all the way through the power band. So I can't believe what a difference it made on the Explorer ST. So we're going to do the same thing here, because the factory intercooler is just too small for this vehicle. And so instant horsepower gains, noticeable, and yeah, excited to get this thing in. So let's get going on taking the running boards off. Probably not going to do a video. I'm going to get some ramps under it, and it's only 6 screws on each side. I'll put the screws back in the holes to keep the crap out of them. And we'll get those out, and then we'll get going. All right, that took about 30 minutes. 6 bolts on each side. They drop right off. So that looks so much better without those. Looks so much cleaner. It looks a little more like a truck instead of a minivan. So so yeah, I'm liking that a whole lot better. And here they are. Now, I could probably change the brackets on those, and those would make some really nice shelves in the garage, and it gets some extra weight off the truck. They don't weigh that much, but I'm not really into dead weight. That's probably why I'm not married. Haha. But anyway, that looks better. So now let's see if we can get it in the garage without tearing it up. It's going to be cramped in there. People think I'm nuts because this truck has a whole 23.9 miles on it. But yeah, it's gonna be tight. I'm not gonna have a lot of room to work up here, but we'll make it work. See how much room I have in the back, because I need to be able to close my garage door to turn the air conditioner on. I gotta go in a little further, and I can get Yeah, we can get a little closer than that. All right, I'm gonna set this camera down and reposition this. Gonna need both hands. All right, that's better. I got a few inches in between. Trailer hitch is about an inch from the garage door, and that should give me just enough room. Since I'm working under the hood, should give me just enough room to get up in here and do what I need to do. So that will work. Now, before that crazy hot weather comes, we can get the AC fired up and get this thing going. All right, so this hood strut kit that comes from Redline Tuning, pretty nice little kit. It comes with two of these little custom-made little nut inserts right here, two little brackets, and of course two gas shocks, and they go. I got one side in already. This takes like 2 minutes to put in. So this goes up in the existing hole. There's a square hole up in here. You just put that up in there, position it in the center, tighten that up. And then this bracket here just goes under, I don't know if you can see it, but there's an existing bolt right here. And you take that bolt out, you put the bracket in, tighten it back up. All you need to install this kit is a ratchet, and it's actually a 1/2-inch socket. It's not metric, oddly. And then when you're putting these on, always put them this way with the piston down. Never put them in this way because the seal will dry out because all the oil is in the bottom, and then they will start to leak. So to put that in, I'm going to set this camera down here real quick. And the only thing you need is just push that on a little bit. Like that. And then you're going to have to raise your hood a little bit. And this other rod might just fall out. So we're going to go ahead and take it out. And then snap that in. And that's it. It's holding, one side's already holding it up. So let's get the other side put on real quick. And these make it so much nicer. I mean, you don't have this thing in the way of everything we're going to be doing up inside here. So we'll be back in a second when we get the other side put in. Okay, that part of the job is done. So this is really nice. I mean, it's just, yeah, that's the way you want it. If it takes you more than about 7 minutes to install this entire kit, then you're doing something wrong. Anyway, so we've got this this factory prop rod, and I have a nice storage facility right here in the end of the garage, and that's where that goes. So on to the next part. We're going to start disassembling the front of this truck. We've got to get this off here. We've got to get this trim off here, the grill, the lower bash plate. Pretty much the whole front end of this truck's got to come off. Not as much has to come off as it did with my Explorer ST. And here's a picture of how much you have to disassemble that to get the Whipple intercooler in. Yeah, that whole front end had to come apart. And here's another little piece of advice. Your key fob. Whenever you're working on your car, they say you're supposed to disconnect the battery. Better yet, take both your key fobs and take them all the way to the other side of your house. Take them like 30-40 feet away, as far as you can get them. And then wait about a half hour before you start unplugging stuff. As you walk up to your vehicle with a key fob, there's a proximity sensor, and all your computers in here start to wake up. And the last thing you want is to throw a code because you unplugged something while it was energized. So move your key fobs away, as far away from your vehicle. Wait about 20-30 minutes before you start. And then when you go unplugging stuff, there's less chance that you're going to throw a code and you have to go back and reset something later. So all right, so now we're going to get started on pulling this upper piece off. After I get rid of this, of course, we're going to start taking this upper plate off and try to get this Process West intercooler stuffed in here. All right, so after you get all these little plastic things off, they're just little rivets. You just get a tool, like this little panel popper tool. You get in here, you lift this part up. Once you lift that part up, you can get underneath the whole thing, pop those out. Take your time, be careful, don't break any of them. There's a whole bunch of them that hold this cover on. And once you get that off, all these pieces, that's tied together. That's kind of convenient. That one's not. So these things just come off, and there it is. That part is off. So now what we're going to do, if you've got one of these little kits like this, it's got picks, it's got little sharp ones, pointed ones, curved ones. Take the one that's got like a 90 on it, and you got to get this piece of lower trim off here because there's 4 bolts behind here in order to get this grill off. So If you just carefully wiggle this back in behind it and rotate it and give it a little pull, it pops that right off. And then you can just sit there and work your way across and get this piece off. Try to do this with one hand. There it is. And nothing broke. So there's that piece right there. That's off. And now there are some bolts. One here, two here. There's actually only three here. And we'll get that off. And then we got to unplug the camera. We got to unplug the little squirter thing that comes off right there. And we'll get that off. And then we'll get this grill popped out of here. This thing just literally just pulls out once you get it apart. So we'll be back in a second. All right, next you're gonna have to disconnect your camera from your front grill. So you push down on that little tab right there, and then this pops out. Then underneath here, there's a little tab. If you push it down, the connector will slide. And if you can see what you're doing, the connector will slide off of that mount if you hook it just right. Either that, or you got to try to pry this thing off the plastic right here, and it's really a pain in the butt. This one back here, you can either cut the zip tie. You can see that. You can either cut the zip tie off, or this one's small enough you could work it up off the plastic, and that works out pretty well. Okay, now you got to disconnect your windshield washer squirter for your front camera. So this fitting right here is about 2 inches below the top of your reservoir. So when you unplug that, guess what's going to happen? So if you have one of these little tube clamps right here, they just kind of like squish on, and you just give them a little squeeze and it pinches it off. And move this out of the way. Don't do it right up here where you're working. Get it off to the side. And then when you do that, there's a fat side on this thing. If you just squeeze that fat side in, this thing comes right out. So now that's disconnected. So now we could work on unbolting the grill and popping this grill off the front. Once you get these 5 screws out, there's one down here, one in the center, one here, there's one right here in the back side, and there's one right here on the back side, if you can see that. Once you get those out, this grill literally just pops off. So you can grab it and just snap it out. Look at that. That's all there is to taking the grill off your Raptor Ranger. You know what I noticed about working on this truck? I get to use all my small tools. So just for reference, I don't know if you can see them down there, but the upper shock bolts on my H1 are torqued to 300 foot-pounds. So yeah, it's kind of nice to work on something where everything is finger tight for a change. So all right, so now we're gonna get the lower bash plate off, and I think there's just 3 bolts under there. So not a big deal. We'll just get under there and drop those off of there. All right, so that piece fought me a little bit. So there are 5 bolts on the bottom that need to come out, and then there's 5 of those little speed clips up inside here that need to come out. I think the 23s and 24s only had 4 clips. I don't know, but this one had 5. So the rest of it, once you get those out, the rest of it just pulls out. But it's on these kind of clips, which pretty much all of them stayed in the truck. So you got to get those back out without screwing them up. I'm going to show you a quick way to do that. So if you have a pair of really fine, skinny needle nose pliers, you get up inside and you collapse those 2 little spring tabs in there, and these things will just pull right out. If you try to bend these around and try to collapse that any other way, you're probably going to end up distorting it. So just get up in here and get the top, get the bottom, collapse it, and it pulls right out. And then you can go ahead and just push them back onto the plastic, and when you go to reinsert it, and then you're good to go. It's gonna take 2 hands to do that, but anyway, so that's that part. Now we're gonna get going on taking the lower bumper section off. Okay, quick note. So if your clips came out and you got them all out of the bumper, these 4 little really sharp tabs down here on the bottom of this flange, they all kind of flattened out. So there is no way you are going to be able to press that back on. So you have to kind of put these in a vise, and you have to push these 4 fingers back down. Otherwise, there's no way you're going to be able to re-engage that on there. So just put them in the vise, take a screwdriver, push them down, take a few minutes to restore them, and then they'll press right back on. Okay, getting ready to take the lower bumper off. So you need to disconnect this harness right here. This cable right here powers everything that's on your lower front bumper, your lights, your parking sensors, all that stuff. So you just take this little red tab right here and you pull it out to the outside, and then you can push that tab in the center down, and when you push that center down, cable comes right out. Now you've got a zip tie here and a couple fasteners right here and right here, and they're connected to the back side of this panel right here. And you probably want to take this out because you need to fish this cable all the way down to the bottom so it'll fall off when you go to pull the bumper out. And then you need to take out these 4 bolts on the bottom. They're Torx. I don't know what size they are, but they're on the bottom up underneath here. And then these bolts right here go right here and right here and right down inside here. Right now I've only got 1 bolt holding this bumper on, so I'm going to take that bolt out, and hopefully this whole thing just falls out. And maybe I can do that with the camera on. I don't know. Hold on. Yeah. All right, let's see. Come on. And they made those long. And then, oh, look at that. All right, bumper came out, and there's the cable, so that's why you want to fish that cable out first. So that's it to getting the bumper out. Not much left. Now we're going to work on getting the we got to get the grill shutter out, and got to drop the 2 brackets left and right, and all the stuff on the front should fall out. So you can see how small that intercooler is for something with this much horsepower. We're going to fix that. So back shortly. Okay, kind of getting ahead of myself here, but so once you take your recovery hooks right here, once you drop those out, there's 2 bolts in each one, and there's another little bolt that comes out right here. Once you take this out and disconnect your couplers, this thing just falls right out the bottom. The grill shutter section, the front one, the back one, everything, the whole thing just drops out as assembly. I'm not much holding this thing in. So you can see, look over here, this thing is tiny compared to the monster that's going to go in here. The thickness on this is about the same, but you've probably got at least 3 times the cooling capacity of the stock one. And these stock hoses right here, I mean, these spongy little flimsy things, I don't know, I guess it's a rubber with some kind of a heat abrasion coating on it or something, but to get these off is really simple. I mean, if you have to put them back on, they just snap on, that's it. And to get them off, if I can set the camera down here, to get them off is really simple. You don't need any tools, you just pull on that little clip right there a little bit, and they pop right off. They got a little seal down inside, and hopefully that they don't start leaking after a while, because that's a little tiny seal for that, the way that thing fits. So, and these are where did I see that? Made in Romania. Like, what does Romania know about making Ford parts? I don't know. Anyway, so we got that out, and now that's it. Now we can almost pretty much start putting everything back in. But another thing, you got to take your I started on this already. You got to take your factory grill shutter out. So down in Australia, they sell a lot of these Raptors, and they don't even offer this option of grill shutters. So I already took some of those out, and they come out really easily. Actually, all you got to do is flex them. Just flex them and they pull right out. And then once you get one side all taken out, there's this center part that goes in the back right here. I mean, it will just fall out. Once you get one side out, this thing just drops off. So that needs to go away. And your motor, your grill shutter motor will stay intact. And then that new intercooler is going to go right behind there with plenty of clearance. And so now what we got to do is they come with this little block off plate that goes up underneath. And it's not hard to put in. You just basically hold it up underneath there. You mark those 2 hole locations. You drill a hole. You put the little speed nuts in, and then you bolt this up in there. Not a big process. Not really going to get into that. And then the last thing we have to do before this intercooler gets fitted up in there, and there's a little, almost like a spongy rubber thing. You have to trim this out because, of course, that intercooler is going to come all the way up. You know, it's going to come way up into here. So you trim this, and on the side, the new intercooler is about 27.5 inches wide. So I'm going to center up with a razor blade, or I could probably cut this with scissors, and just trim this piece out right here and try to keep it snug up against the new intercooler. So we'll come back when I get that trimmed out, and we'll start raising that new intercooler up inside there. Okay, so here is the factory shutter assembly that came off the stock intercooler. So right here's the motor for the louvers. So this motor has to go back into the car, and if you don't plug the motor back in, the computer's going to ask where it is, and you're going to get a code of some kind saying, hey, you got a problem with your shutter motor. But in the kit, they give you this cool little bracket here. These 2 nuts right here, they go into factory locations up behind the grill, and then the motor plugs in right here. So to get this out of here, to get this motor out, there's a little torque screw right down here, but you got to get this motor won't lift out of here until this vane is gone. And some people say to take this rib out right here, but to try to spread all these things, it's really stiff. Trying to get this out right here is a lot of work, and there's a lot easier way. So over here on this end, there's these little tabs. You can just push these tabs in and just push it in, and you can release the little axles on the end of the vane, and then all 4 of them will lift up out of here. So now you can lift that up, you can slide it to the left, and now the entire assembly comes out. So now this little driven gear section right here is gone. It's out of the motor. Now you can just take your Torx, and you can take that screw out, and that's all it takes. And there's your motor, and that's all you need. And then this goes it goes this way, I believe. There are all those nuts on the back here. So this is going to go inside here, and then this is going to go up inside the grill, and I'll show you where that goes in a minute. Okay, I've got the inside of this thing marked. I just used some white grease pencil. You can see, well, you can kind of see where my line is right there. There's a little molding guide right here on the bottom of this plate. There's one on this side and one on this side over here. I don't know if you can really see that, but anyway, I just went right along the side of that molding on both sides, equally spaced, and then you can kind of see the white line along the back here. There's like a little ridge there. And then the back of this thing is just a really soft rubber, and it'll just pull out. I mean, you can see there's really nothing there. So this will get cut all the way to the end, but this one only gets cut along this line here because you're not going to get into this right here. So I'm going to find a way to get in there with a knife or whatever, and some kind of little saw, cutting tool, razor blade, whatever. I'm going to get that cut out of there, and then we'll come back. Okay, that took about 20 minutes to get that out of there. So basically just took a box knife like this, and just take little 4 inches at a time and just score it slowly, and then it will break off, and then you can get in there and reach behind that center divider and do it from the back like this and score that section. And this is weird stuff. It's really hard plastic out here at the front, but the back it's like a really soft rubber. So yeah, the technology of thermoplastics. But anyway, so that came out, and now that it's out and I go looking in there, it was a little bit rough. So if you have a really rasp, almost like a plastic rasp like this, you can go back in there and you can just run this along, and you can clean up that back edge, and you can smooth it out if you have any imperfections or rough edges. You can almost make it look like it came from the factory that way. But now as I'm looking at this, I see these little tabs right here that are sticking out. Now that ginormous intercooler has to slip up all the way to the side right here, so these are in the way. So nobody told me about that, but I think I'm gonna have to take that out and just kind of lob those off right there on both sides. That bracket doesn't do anything anymore. Held the old grill shutter parts in, and so anyway, that's got to come out. So I will, once I get that out. Hey, I finally got this thing stuffed up in here. And when I say finally, it's because everything becomes a project. So this thing has very little clearance all the way around it. So the plastic I cut out in the bottom, side to side, it worked great. I got maybe 1/4 of an inch right here, and I got 1/4 of an inch on this side. But I ended up having to take an additional 1/2 inch or so out of the front side because it just wasn't going to fit. And then I also found out that after taking all the forward grill shutter pieces out, the motor that goes down inside here, it sticks out about 1/2 inch too far, and it crashes into the front of the intercooler. So the motor had to be relocated. So I ran the cable comes out right here, it just tucks in real nice. And here's a perfect little spot to put a couple of like 2-inch long screws down through this plastic and put a nut under here and tighten it. Use a lock nut so you don't have to tighten it up that much. You just want to hold it in place. And the cover, the radiator cover that goes over top of this is going to bury this real nicely. It's not going to interfere with anything. It's not going to get too wet or damaged or bumped, and it's plugged in, so the computer will be happy. So that other one, we took off the intercooler. Where'd it go? There it is. So the one for the intercooler motor, shutter motor, goes right here. So they gave you this little bracket, and it comes through, and the bolts come through like right here and right here, and that motor just tucks back in there real nice, and then you can plug it in from the bottom, and again, the computer will be happy. So there is a bracket up on top here I forgot to mention. It tightens to this bolt right here in the center. This bolt comes out, and you can see the bracket is right there. They want you to put the bracket in first, and you reuse the rubber bushings that came off the stock intercooler and put the bushings on, and then raise this thing up in there and guide it up into the bushings. That doesn't really work. Once you're raising this up and you get your intercooler about halfway, put that bracket on when you got some room to get your hands in here and push those bushings down. Put a little silicone grease on them. Get that bracket put on the intercooler first, and then raise the intercooler until this bolt lines up, and then get this bolt started. Whole lot easier. And also, in my last little segment there, I cut off these little pieces that held up the shutter assembly, and then I come to find out that that thing crashes, that intercooler will crash right here. It just flares out at the bottom, and they don't show it, but I'm pretty sure that this thing right here is not needed. So that's going to go in my storage receptacle. The back of the grill shutter, there's some extra little air power louvers. That's going to go away. This is probably worth some scrap aluminum, but we don't need it anymore. And then I took these lower 3 hoses off when I was putting the intercooler up in there just to get them out of the way. So we don't need those. We don't need that. And trash can's filling up. I'm starting to think that if you own a Ford, you should own a really big trash can too. But anyway, on to the next part, which is going to be now that's bolted in. Once it goes in, it's solid. I mean, it is solid. Those lower tow bar hooks right there, that's where the lower bushing goes, and that holds up the underside of the intercooler. And then you just make sure you've got clearance here, away from this, and then you're not touching anywhere here. This condenser right here is kind of a wild card because you can move the thing around quite a bit. So you want to get all around this thing and make sure nothing is touching and rubbing before you continue. That way you're not going to have something vibrate and rub a hole into something. Last thing you need. But there's about, I get my fingers in behind there, there's probably 3/4 of an inch between the intercooler and the condenser. So that's it. So now we're going to start disassembling all this stuff up here, and getting rid of these plastic hoses and getting the processed west ones put in. So gonna start pulling some of this stuff apart. This stuff comes off pretty easy. You just you push that back, then you can push this thing back, and then that comes off. I mean, it's really this one that comes up. I mean, stuff comes apart super easy. There's one part in here, they gave you a little tool. It's right up inside here. They have this 3D printed tool, and there's one fitting up in here somewhere that Ford does not want you to remove. And I can't remember which one that was, but this tool gets up behind there and should release it and pop off. But so anyway, we're going to continue on with that, and hopefully wrap this thing up before too long. We'll be back shortly. All right, so all of the process west piping is installed. It goes in really easy. You just need to take your time. I took my time. This probably took me about 3 hours because I just wanted to make sure everything fit right where it was supposed to go. Nothing was rubbing or interfering. I like the system because they have a bolt right here that ties this pipe and this pipe together, and it actually makes this assembly really, really rigid. So the only problems I had getting this in is on this cold air intake pipe, this little boss that sticks up right here. You can see the aluminum. I had to machine off about 1/16 of an inch. This fitting wouldn't go down far enough for the little tabs to snap in around underneath the collar. This was just too tall. So I took it all back apart. I knocked this down a little bit, and this thing snapped right in. So everything else went in really well. I already started putting the bumper back together. One thing that they didn't tell you is that there's 2 bolts in the bumper that go right here, and I had to take almost an inch off of that bolt, because if you run that bolt in, if you're one of those guys that likes running everything together with an impact wrench, guess what? This bolt is so long. With an impact wrench, you're going to drive that right into this aluminum casting of your new intercooler, and your project is going to end abruptly. So they don't tell you that you need to take about an inch off that one bolt right there. I mean, there's plenty of thread. I mean, it's going to stick out through the back side. So you have to do that on both sides. On the inboard one, this one over here too. Yeah, you'll drive that bolt right into your intercooler, and you're not going to like that. And another thing I'm going to show you. I got to dig a piece out of the trash, but remember what I said earlier about things being just finger tight? Let's grab one of these. So when I was taking this stuff apart, I got up in there with this little knurly tool right here. It's kind of handy. It's just lets you put a socket on a little fingernail. These things right here were so loose from the factory. I mean, I just put them on here and they just spun right off. I mean, this is your pressure side on your turbo. So how this stuff is not checked at the factory or being able, was able to be shipped that loose. If you got one of these trucks, maybe get under the hood, man, and check all your hose clamps. I mean, even if it's a brand new truck, man, this truck has 24 miles on it. And these clamps, some of these clamps were just crazy, crazy loose. And that's not good. I mean, my H1, I mean, it produces about 38 to 40 pounds of boost when you're standing on it. And a hose clamp being that loose would not hold up. I don't know how much boost these Fords have, but those clamps should be a lot tighter than that. And this little piece that came out earlier, you have to kind of take it out anyway to get the cable out from behind. But when you remount your intercooler or shutter motor with this bracket they give you right here, these nuts right here are going to stick out on the back side because that's something new. So when you put that in, you have to make a little clearance hole right there for that nut to come through, or else it's just going to bow out and it's not going to sit in there flat like it's supposed to. So anyway, I'm going to get the rest of this stuff buttoned up. Everything up front here just pretty much snaps together. When I took the bumper off the bottom, I did realize that these bolts from the bottom, I think there was like 5 of them, these did not need to come out. They were part of the bumper. So not a big deal, live and learn. But I'll throw those back up in there. But there's only those 6 big bolts that hold your bumper on. And man, it just falls right off. So anyway, gonna put the rest of this stuff back together, and we'll see what it looks like when it's completely finished. All right, so this is the end of the video. Everything is back together, and yeah, it goes back together a lot quicker than it comes apart. So I would say this whole job took about 10 hours. Not too bad for first time, getting to learn everything and figure out where everything is. But yeah, if you're going to do this, take your time, especially up in here. It's a little bit time consuming. Make sure everything fits just right. Make sure you don't have pipes rubbing on things they're not supposed to be rubbing on. And then, you know, the hardest part was getting that intercooler in there and getting the clearance, getting everything to fit, and learning what brackets you can reuse, what can't, how far you had to trim, all that kind of stuff. Things like having to shorten the bolts. And but anyway, it's all good. Went back together. I wish I could give you guys some before and after data, but you know, I've only put about 7 miles on this truck since I've owned it. I came off the transport and drove it here to the house. And so I know on my Explorer ST, it was an immediate difference. So so I think it's going to run fine. I don't want to put a lot of miles on this because I haven't really decided if I want to keep it or not. I got such an incredibly good deal on this truck. And then here in Phoenix, you know, some dealers have like a $10,000 to $15,000 market adjustment, and I didn't pay anywhere near that, or anywhere near what the sticker was. But so anyway, I could just end up selling this thing and you know, turning a buck on it or something. But so I was also able to put in the this took like 5 minutes to put the little pieces up inside here, the little guards that keep the cable from getting knocked off. Even if you're not off-roading, this could get hit by something on the freeway whenever, on the freeway or something. But anyway, that'll protect that. But anyway, that's the end of the video, and hope you guys maybe learned something on this. Any comments, leave them down below. But maybe we'll see you in the next video when I'm putting this amp in behind the seat. Still waiting for my line out controller. Still haven't put this in because I wanted to try to wait and try to do it with FORScan. And these were extra parts that came in case you were hooking the Process West intercooler piping to a factory intercooler. So these aren't going to get used. They sure look cool. They make nice little paperweights. But anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.